What about my family? Why can't I call them? I want to talk to my parents.
Hey, family, and welcome back to another episode on our true crime series. Today's episode, we'll be talking about Carlie Brucia, who's an 11-year-old girl who was abducted on February 1st, 2004. Now, it all started January 31st, 2004, when Carlie stayed the night with a few friends. The next day, she decided to walk home, which was about a mile away from her house. She told the mom of her friend that her mom was perfectly fine with her walking home, which I thought was absolutely insane for the mom to allow her to walk a mile home. So she decided to call Carlie's mom, Susan, to see if it was okay, which Susan declined and basically said she didn't even want Carlie walking, a few blocks home. So at that point, she sent her Carlie's stepfather, Steve, to look for her and to bring her home. While Steve was out looking, he didn't see Carlie anywhere. He drove around for about an hour and decided to just head home to see if she had made it home. When he made it back, she was still missing. So they decided to go ahead and call the police and give the description of what Carlie looks like. And you can hear all in her mom's voice that she was devastated at this point. As they was driving around, they did see a red pickup truck who started to drive slow past them and kept going, which they found to be suspicious. And they kept looking for Carlie. They could not find Carlie. Later that day, they decided to go ahead and make posters with her face and stuff on it, looking for her, and to pass them out to a few businesses. Allegedly, Steve went into a business to pass out flyers and was asking for drugs, asking if he could buy drugs, which was suspicious. And that employee did contact the police and they did question Steve, but his alibi worked out, so he was eliminated as a suspect. They did Carlie did walk through a car wash, which was a shortcut to her house, and the owner of the car wash was looking over the camera footage and basically caught Carlie's abduction on camera. Now, in the video, you do see a man walking up to Carlie. She had headphones or something in, so she basically wasn't paying attention to her surroundings. But he walked up to her and he grabbed her arm, and it shows him leading her out of frame. It doesn't show him putting her in a car or anything, but it does show that she looked shocked. Obviously, she didn't know him by her facial expressions. Um, and yeah, like this is so crazy to me, y'all. But later on, they end up releasing that camera footage, and people identified the man. And the man is 37-year-old Joseph Smith. They went to talk to Joseph. They drove by the house at first and seen him outside smoking a cigarette. So they decided to come back. When they went back and knocked on the door, no one answered the door. Now, this is literally a few minutes in between each other. So they knew that he was there, but he just wasn't opening the door. Now, they end up contacting his parole officer because Joseph was basically out on parole. And he has a lengthy crime sheet dating back to like 1993. But yeah, they end up contacting his parole officer, who ultimately got them into the house to talk to Joseph. And basically, Joseph said that he was nowhere near the car wash that day, that he did borrow his friends or his roommates' minivan, or it wasn't a minivan, it was a station wagon.
Station wagon.
He borrowed his friend's station wagon to go look at a marina, but he was nowhere near a car wash that day, is what he's saying. Later on, his parole officer actually arrested him because they ended up finding drugs in his car. So he was arrested. Um, when they went to question him about Carlie, he quickly lowered up. He did not want to talk about it at all.
I want to just talk. You and I had some things to talk about, okay? Because some of the things at the house, we got to get straight. That's the most important thing.
Okay.
And this room is about the truth, okay? It's the most important thing that goes on in this room.
Joseph's arms are wrapped tightly around his torso, which could suggest that he's feeling defensive and trying to protect himself. In addition, his legs are crossed at the ankles. His whole body is in a closed position, signifying that he may be uncooperative and may not be willing to speak with the detective. The initial interview never even had the chance to get started.
I was already advised to talk to a lawyer.
After Joseph shut down the interview by requesting a lawyer, he repeatedly asked to speak with his family.
I can't talk to you. You have requested a lawyer.
What about my family? Why can't I call them? I want to talk to my parents or my brother.
But the detective ultimately convinced him to meet with an attorney from the public defender's office.
Can I contact the public defender's office for you? And they can bring a lawyer down here.
But Joseph did have one last request.
Hey,
Did you say something?
do you think that I could smoke or not?
Joseph may be so focused on himself and his wants that he thinks he'll be allowed a cigarette break, despite the fact that police are busy trying to locate a missing child.
But it is a federal building. It's against the law for you to smoke in here.
I mean, like outside or something.
Not right now.
When the detective says no, Joseph nods his head and smirks.
As they were reviewing the camera footage from the car wash, they did see a pale yellow station wagon come through, which was the roommate's station wagon. And they saw that station wagon drive into the car wash 3 minutes before Carlie walked through that frame. So I'm assuming that he had already seen Carlie and knew what he was about to do. He already had previous thoughts of kidnapping.
He had previous charges as well as kidnapping.
Of kidnapping and assault to women. A lot of his charges were drug charges, but he did have prior allegations on kidnappings and assault and abuse to women. So, I mean, it just blows my mind how somebody could basically see a child and just automatically think, okay, I'm about to kidnap this child.
Yeah, that was crazy. And
Right.
I do know that they said at one point they seen, the way they put it together was when they first reviewed the camera footage, before they went all the way back and actually where they caught it on camera, they did see a red tow truck driving through the area and circling the car wash, looking suspicious. And who that was, it was the friend who house she was staying over, one of her mother's boyfriends. Now, we was thinking, at first they thought that was suspicious, but what that really was when they called her mom to see if she could walk home, her mom told them no. So that was him out looking for her, trying to find her. So that's why that red truck was in the area. Now, at first they initially did not know who Joseph was, but what stood out was his tattoos, and he had a mechanic uniform on. Now, the first tips they got was a lot of people that worked with Joseph was calling in saying, hey, I know who that is. He worked at the mechanic shop with me. It's a mechanic patch on his shirt, and it's Joseph. So, like they said, when they went back and talked to him, they made him roll his sleeves up, and he had tattoos, and he had some scratches and scuff marks on his arm, which was signs of a struggle, as if she put up a fight. And when he seen her, he knew right away what he was going to do. So she had her headphones on. She was just casually walking away. All this happened on Super Bowl Sunday. And her reasoning for going home was she wanted to go home and watch the Super Bowl at home. So while everybody else is partying, she was walking home just trying to go watch the Super Bowl.
Now, they did say that the day after Carlie went missing, when he went back to work, he appeared super nervous and he appeared to be on drugs that day. Um, and then also they arrested him, but it was on the drugs that they found in the car. When they got there, he quickly lawyered up, like I said, but he asked for a phone call. Now, they declined the phone call. They asked him if he wanted them to contact the public defender for him, and he was saying yes, but he was later on arrested on the drug charges. While in jail, he got a phone call and called his mom, and he also called his brother. He told his brother that he did kidnap Carlie and that he violently assaulted her. And he also told his brother where her body could be found. He also told his mom the same thing. Now, initially, she didn't believe he did it, but she did say that if he did do it, that he would come out and tell her, which ultimately he did. He told her the same exact thing, that he did kidnap her and violently assault her. Now, on February 5th, they did find Carlie's body in some bushes. And yeah, he basically strangled her after molesting her, and left her. Just left her. Bind her, or they didn't find her bound, but there were marks around her arms like she was tied, and that like she did put up a struggle. But I mean, watching this episode, it just makes my heart so heavy because in a split second, that's all it takes is a split second. And for the parents out there, I really hope that you do talk to your children. If you haven't, please talk to your children about things like this, because it can happen, just that fast. And I do have a few tips that I found on a few videos that you can discuss with your kids when it comes to avoiding abductions. Basically, you can tell them to put up a big fight. You don't want to just willingly walk and go with anybody that's trying to take you. You will, of course, want to put up a fight, and you want to be super loud. So scream anything, help, get away, anything, just be super loud. A lot of the times when people are getting abducted, they don't want a big scene. Mm-hmm. That's why they tell you, okay, if you come with me, everything will be fine. Nobody will get hurt. I won't hurt you. Or even they'll go to the extent of your parents sent me, mm-hmm. So you definitely have to talk to your children about this. If you don't know them, the answer is no.
And put up a big fight in public. Like, basically what we're saying is, if someone is going to abduct you in broad daylight like this little girl was, they don't want a big scene in public. Because right. If you can scream big, because at the end of the day, you can't really avoid abduction. You can right. Just do the best you can to try and get away. Now, what most people would do is they'll whisper to them and tell them, go with me. If you do everything I tell you to do, I won't hurt you, things like that. And most people automatically thinks that, okay, he gonna let me go. I don't know what he's gonna do to me, but I've been instructed to do everything he said. I have a better chance by just doing what he's telling me. But if you put up a fight in public, if you scream, if you try and run, my thing is you have a better chance to survive putting up a fight, hoping someone see you, hoping someone hear you. Because in broad daylight, it's a car passing by somewhere. It's right. Someone else walking on the street. And if you get in a car with this predator, they basically have total control over you. Yeah. They're going to take you to a secluded area that they know about, probably somewhere way off in the middle of the woods where no one can hear you scream, and you probably never be found again. And like I said, it's really nothing you can do. You could just try, and that's just one of the things. Don't go willingly. Just put right. up a big fight if it's in public and things like that.
Definitely. And to piggyback off what he said, another tip was to do not enter the vehicle. Once they get you in the vehicle, they have complete and total control over what they do and where they take you. Another tip is to teach your children. Talk to your children. Teach your children, what it looks like. Show them, what it looks like. And also come up with safe words. Come up with a safe word and practice that safe word that only you and your children know. That word is not for anybody else to know, only you and your children. And to practice that word daily so they know in the event of something like that traumatic happening, they'll know what to say and what to scream. This is just a few tips, you guys.
Another thing I want to go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, another thing I wanted to add that this story is so crazy because it later came out that the Florida judge had issued, well, his probation officer had notified the Florida judge to put a warrant out for his arrest a month prior to the abduction. But the judge couldn't issue the warrant because the probation officer, they didn't do all the paperwork and file all the paperwork for them to properly issue the warrant. So the judge wasn't able to issue the warrant, which would have had him behind bars. And at that time, and I can only think that would have saved her life. He would have been in jail, and he wouldn't have been able to do it to her that day.
Right.
So that was another weird thing that was kind of twisted in this story.
Also, they did sentence Joseph to the death penalty. I cannot talk today. They sentenced him to death, which he ultimately did not receive, being that after a few years, laws changed where it had to be a unanimous decision, and it came out to be 10-2. So he did end up dying in prison in 2001. And the sad part, all of it's sad, but a sadder part about the situation is Carlie's mom ended up
off the streets and then murdered, her abduction caught on camera. And now the Sarasota case that shocked the entire country is back in the spotlight. Good evening, I'm Paul Agrone.
And I'm Laura Harris. 11-year-old Carlie Brucia's killer may escape the death penalty after a recent Florida Supreme Court decision.
Jake Peterson with reaction tonight from those close to the family.
Basically losing her life to a drug overdose in 2017. And basically, stories like this and incidents like this don't only affect one person, it affects everybody, even the ones that didn't know Carlie personally. But it's super sad, and we definitely wanted to bring it to you guys and shed light on Carlie's case. If you guys have any stories that you want us to cover, any true crimes, please leave them down below in the comment section, and we will definitely get them up for you guys. We want to thank you guys for rocking with us and for watching our videos, and we'll definitely see you in the next one.